the Moon Boys completely holding on for dear life? Is Bitcoin right now on the verge of something ginormous? Bitcoin has been completely and utterly trading sideways with a slight dumpy bias for literally about 7 months now, bringing even the most steadfast, addicted crypto holders to their knees, asking themselves, when will the bust happen? And what if I told you Bitcoin is right now doing something that I wouldn't even describe as big? But if I'm being extremely and completely honest with you, I would describe it as a little bit bigger than regular big. So before we get started, make sure if you're interested in signing up to trade or buy crypto on FEMEX to sign up now. Literally within about a week or so, definitely by the end of this month, FEMEX will start requiring KYC. So if you sign up now, you'll be grandfathered in. You won't have to worry about it. But if you sign up in about a month from now, you will have to KYC. So that's, nobody really wants to do that. So sign up with the link below now, right? Limited time. And without any further ado, let's absolutely dump in where if you're looking at this chart right now on my screen, you're probably looking and thinking to yourself two things. One, please do something. But two, wow, is this some sort of absolutely gigantic inverse head and shoulders on the charts where we had an initial left shoulder back at the beginning of July, the mega dump, which is the head, exactly a month later at the beginning of August. And here we are exactly a month later at the beginning of September, so far actually doing something big, putting in potentially a higher low from this initial mega crash. That also coincided with the stock market dumping. The Japanese yen carry trade was the large reason for this, which keep in mind, guys, I mean, if we really zoom back about a month, that, it did unwind. The stock market had a pretty nice dump, everything like that. And crypto only went down to about 50K, bounced right back up to about 55. And currently we have a little bit of a move to the upside. Now, I do want to look as well. We look at the stock market on the, the weekly chart or the daily chart for the stock market. Clearly, we've been in a little bit of a dumpy downtrend ever since not putting in a new all-time high for multiple weeks towards the end of August, right? We almost did, but we didn't. And we look on the weekly chart for the SPX, for example, you can see that we kind of just touched right at those previous all-time highs, right around 5,600 or so, but we got dumped on. Now, within a week, within about the next week, we are going to be receiving something ginormous, which is the very first, most likely, okay, nothing's guaranteed. Maybe an asteroid hits the Earth tomorrow and they decide not to cut rates. But as of right now, it's very likely that the very first rate cut since 2020, I believe, it's been about 4 years since they've cut rates. They were raising rates all throughout 2021 and 2022. And most of 2023, I believe, as well. But this will be the first time that we see rate cuts. How is it going to impact the market in the short term, and how will it impact in the long term? Are we going to get a crash first, right? Will the market get a big dumpy first? Or in fact, is something else going to happen? Will Bitcoin, this is an entire cryptocurrency market cap chart, will the entire crypto market do what it was destined to do? A wise man once said that when things are boring and the market's really sideways and not much is going on, that's okay. Because you know what happens immediately after something really boring and trading sideways happens in these markets? The biggest pump since the beginning of humankind is likely to happen. And that's what we've all been waiting for. On the daily chart for Bitcoin as well, we see that the Bollinger Bands are still relatively tight. We're right now bouncing right off the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. We look at something like the weekly chart, and this is where things can kind of get pretty massive, to be honest. We see the 50-week moving average, this blue line here, right here on this chart, is exactly where so far Bitcoin is held. It's exactly as well, if we go back a month, where Bitcoin bounced back then, right? Because the moving average was lower. It's been coming up. It's 50-week moving average. And this is big. We're right now holding support here. We're seeing momentum on the weekly chart try to shift. I mean, you look at something even like the RSI, we haven't seen a bullish cross yet, but getting this purple line above this yellow can happen like that. And we can really start to see momentum shift. And that's exactly how I think it's going to happen. I think that, this chart illustrates it perfectly. This goes back to March, the very beginning of March, We're getting close to 200 days of this ranging. 200 days. That's a long time. And very often when Bitcoin is that boring for that long, honestly about that same amount of time, we can actually even, I mean, you know what? We could, if we go to like a weekly chart, yeah, you can see this is not the first time that Bitcoin has traded sideways for a long amount of time. For example, literally the summer of last year, look how much we traded sideways before a massive move up, okay? We can go back historically. There's a lot of trading sideways before the mega moves. And we just put into context everything. We factor in the macroeconomic situation combined with everything else going on in crypto specifically. I think we're on the verge of something very big here. Now, Bitcoin obviously has to hold. This 50-week is honestly really important. You know, we zoom in again here. This is a really important moving average. So we pretty much need to see a bounce here, a strong one that I would like to see Bitcoin get above 60 pretty fast, like get back above 60K pretty quickly. I think is very necessary. But yeah, I mean, we look at something, the DXY is still, I think the DXY is going to get dumped on in about a week. I think that the SPX, if we actually look at the SPX daily chart again, right now it is below some very key moving averages. And we obviously need to see, we could see a little bit lower even before we find support. But personally, I think that the stock market has a very strong chance of rallying in the next week or so, especially as we head into the end of the year, the final quarter. But with these rate cuts, I think that's going to be big. You know, basically the biggest stock that exists right now, NVIDIA, also is important to be watching NVIDIA. Is this going to continue to run, or is this going to get dumped on? Everybody in finance right now is trying to figure out if the NVIDIA trade right now is still a good trade, or if things are a little overheated and a pullback is coming for something like NVIDIA. But overall, I think that Bitcoin potentially, if we actually, where is it? Here's the head and shoulders pattern. You know, let's draw this on here real quick. Left shoulder, head, and then the right shoulder. Let me just fix this up a little bit. We see this type of pattern, breakout being roughly pretty much back to those all-time highs or a little above those all-time highs. It's possible. But we really absolutely, I mean, that uncertainty around the rate cuts, I'm pretty sure everyone understands that the rate cuts are coming in about a week, the very first rate cut. Will it be 25 or 50? Most likely to be 25 basis points. But what will the immediate impact of it be? Will the market get dumped on first? Who knows? But I think that, again, we only have, September is not historically a good month. Let's be honest. September is not. However, October is. November and December absolutely are very historically very strong months for the crypto market. So in my opinion, we might have to get through one more month of some dumpiness before it becomes very realistic. But again, we could start to see this actually get pumpy soon because of the macro environment that's shifting with Fed policy. All I know is that it's going to be big. And don't forget, sign up with BINGX now before you have to do KYC towards the end of this month. I believe there's about 1 or 2 weeks left until they are implementing KYC. So if you sign up now, you will not need to KYC and you can still use it. Without any further ado, that's it for me.